Hey everyone, I have occasionally lurked in the sub, but never thought I'm going to post anything here. I'm a firm materialist and a huge skeptic by nature, so what happened to me yesterday has left me completely baffled. I need to see if anyone has experienced something similar or can offer an explanation I haven't considered. First, some context to rule out the obvious. I wasn't sleeping, drowsy, or under the influence of anything. I was 100% awake on my bus ride home. I was actively listening to some cool punk music. I could even tell you which songs I was listening to. And I was paying close attention because my stop was coming up. I use wireless earbuds, the kind with the charging case. I only own one pair. I have never owned a second pair. This is a crucial point. As I approached my stop, I took the earbuds out of my ears and pulled the charging case from my bag to put them away. I opened the case and immediately froze in confusion. There was already a pair of earbuds inside. I looked down at my other hand, where I was definitely holding the pair I had just taken out of my ears. I was now holding two pairs of identical earbuds, 4 earbuds in total. My first thought was, my brain is being silly. I must have already put them away and forgotten. I got very confused and I started to double and triple check. I looked back and forth between the pair in my hand and the pair in the case. They were both there, simultaneously. I reached into the case and physically touched the earbuds nestled inside. I closed the case and then opened it again. Yep, still there. I even picked one up. When I placed it back into the case, the tiny blue charging light lit up just like it always does, and I heard the soft click of the earphones being placed into the case. So the case was definitely recognizing and charging a real, physical pair of earbuds. At this point, I had to make a decision. I had my original pair in one hand and a fully functional new pair in the occupied case. So I zipped the case back into my bag. I saw the charging light even after I placed it in my bag and stuffed the original pair into my pockets. I was so stunned I almost missed my stop. The weirdness wouldn't let me go. I stopped to get a sandwich, and while waiting, I had to check again. I was just confused about how I could possibly have another pair of identical earphones. So I took the case out of my bag and opened it again. It was empty. The extra pair was gone, just like that. The case I had seen with my own eyes containing a pair of earbuds that I had touched that had triggered the charging light was now utterly empty. All I had left was the original pair still sitting in my pocket. I put them back in the case where they belonged, and that was that. Back to one pair. So I started thinking about what had happened and tried to come up with an explanation. I can only find two plausible explanations. Either I was hallucinating in a way I never did before, or something I just witnessed impossible. I wasn't sleeping or stressed or under the influence of anything. I was 100% awake on my bus ride home. I was actively listening to some cool punk music. I could even tell you which songs I was listening to, and I was paying close attention because my stop was coming up. I did check it multiple times. I saw it, felt it, heard it. So it was either some strange multi-sensory hallucination in a vivid and awake state triggered by nothing, or something truly strange. I'm leaning towards the first explanation, but it feels deeply unsatisfying because nothing was off about my day, and I never had anything similar to that. So what do you guys think? I know that duplicating earphones aren't the most thrilling mysteries out there, but this is the first time in my life I have encountered something I have no explanation for. Has anyone else held a duplicate of an object only for it to vanish? 2.5 weeks ago, my dog passed away unexpectedly. I've admittedly taken it really hard. About a week ago, I was alone in my house for the first time since his passing. I'm married and we have 4 children, plus I work a lot, so it is rare I am home alone. For whatever reason, I decided to go lay down in bed for a few minutes. I walked upstairs and closed my door. My dog's bed used to be literally right outside my bedroom door, as it is the end of a hallway, so I've heard him walk up the stairs into his bed thousands of times before. As I'm laying there, I hear small steps on the stairs, like his. We live in a 50-year-old house and the stairs creak, so I was quite surprised to hear the stairs as I was alone. Then I hear the steps get to the top of the stairs, and I hear his claws clacking on the wood floor and stopping in front of my door/his door. I started calling out, "Hello? Hello? Is someone there?" No response. I jump out of bed and run to the door. Nothing there. I went downstairs and all the doors were still locked. My wife keeps telling me I'm just grieving and the mind is a powerful thing, but I'm sure of what I heard and I'm getting chills even as I write this. Am I losing my mind? The mind is a powerful thing, but so are your pets. Their spirits exist and they remember you. When I married my wife 25 plus years ago, she came with a cat. This cat became super attached to her when pregnant with our daughter, and when she was born, this cat forever acted like our daughter was her own. She grew up with the cat, loving her, and well after this cat passed on, she still felt a cat jump up onto her bed at night to give snuggles and purrs. Yes, it could just be her imagination. It was at night when she was supposed to be sleeping, but it happened often and with such regularity that we could never 100% doubt. Going back a little, shortly after we were married, I had a stray kitten pick me out and he became attached to me just as much as the older cat did to our daughter. The older cat, which this one treated like his mother, made it known to the younger who and what were off limits in the house. Rules were set and clearly followed by the younger cat all the way up until the older cat passed. It was clear after that point that the younger started behaving more freely, as he was now the only cat in the house. But one rule he would not break was entrance into our daughter's room. He would never go into it willingly on his own, and if I dared to carry him into that room, he'd be perfectly relaxed beforehand, but the moment I crossed the threshold, he would absolutely freak the F out and try to get away. If I still had hold of him and walked back out, he would calm down instantly. If I stood at the doorway and looked in, he would stare at a specific point in the room just over the bed until I carried him away, like he was watching something only he could see. This is the same bed where our daughter claimed the older cat would visit her at night, BTW. Interesting note, once the younger cat eventually passed, my daughter claims the visits stopped. We now have 3 cats in the house. 2 are mine and the third is hers, and none of them feel obliged to restrict their activities in this room, but all 3 of them have appeared to notice something in there. We still hear cat activities all over the house, even in places where none of the 3 are present at the time, so there is a general feeling that we still have visitors. I thought I'm going crazy. Then I came across this sub, read some posts, and calmed myself down a little bit. This was the scariest and most confusing thing that has ever happened to me. About 3 days ago, I was finishing my workout session from the gym and I went straight home. It was a little bit late, around 10:30 p.m., and on the way home, gym's nearby, so I'm walking back on foot, I came across a stray cat that's pretty friendly and, from the looks of it, hungry. It followed me and I thought, why the hell not feed it? When we arrived home, I saw my brother through the kitchen window. I was going to ask him to bring me the cat food or any meat he could find in the house, because if I leave the cat alone even for a minute, it might leave. But since my brother was eating at the time, I didn't want to bother him. So I let the cat inside the hallway and left it there. First thing that came across my mind is to return the weightlifting belt that I borrowed from my brother, so I went to his room real fast. As I opened the door, I thought the room was empty and I just threw the belt on the floor. Well, it was in fact not empty. My brother, startled from the noise, instantly woke up. I turned on the light and I asked him, "Did you just went from eating to sleeping in literally half a minute?" I was already a little bit shocked, even scared, because I knew that's already impossible. Man, he could barely open his eyes, let alone speak. I immediately realized he was sleeping for a while, so I apologized for waking him up and just left the room. As I was going through the hallway, my heart was pounding. I knew I saw my brother crystal clear a minute ago, so as I'm entering the kitchen in panic mode, there was no one at the table. There wasn't even food on the table that I saw him eating, nor the plate that was in front of him. The shirt I saw him wearing was the same shirt he wore that day. There was no one in the kitchen. So I thought maybe that was my mother who was sitting instead. There's no other explanation. She was in the room next to it with the door open, watching a TV show. I went there and I asked her, "Were you in the kitchen a few minutes ago?" She said, "No, I wasn't. I heard you enter the house, but there was no other noise in the past hour. There was no noise coming from the kitchen at all." That was the moment I was truly scared, although very curious. My thoughts were all over the place that night. I slept with my lights on, and before anyone asked me, it didn't stop me from feeding the stray cat, lol. Day after, I told my bro everything. He just laughed at it, but I know what I saw. I am 100% sure. When I was a young girl, I'm 40 now, so late 90s, I was at an event with my family in the middle of rural England. One of the ladies my family knew was there, chatting with the adults. Myself, my younger brother, and a few other kids decided to run off and explore. Think vast fields surrounding us, nearest village a few miles away. We went to play, and about an hour later, I saw the same lady hiking through one of the fields. Even as a youngster, I found it odd, as she would have had to leave the event at the same time as us. And I specifically remember leaving her with the adults. An older lady wouldn't want to come and play with kids anyway. My brother also saw her, as did the other children we were with. We ran back to the adults, which took around 10 minutes, and there she was, sat in a camping chair with a drink in her hand, exactly as we had left her. At first, the adults didn't believe us, but we must have made them realize that we were not playing, and it went very quiet. It was 100% her walking through that field. I will never forget it. She was in the same outfit. There was no way she could have got further than us without us seeing her. Bizarre. I still think about it every month. I don't have any answers for you, but I will say that the human brain is a funny little thing, and there is lots to this life that we are not aware of. This story happened to me several years ago when I was in college. I originally posted it on Quora, but after getting banned, I found this subreddit and thought it belonged here. This story does involve a phone, but it's not a tech glitch. But if I am wrong, the mods are welcome to remove it. So, my high school friend and I lived in the same hostel and attended the same college. One night, as I was unwell, I called her and said I won't be going to class the next morning so she could leave without me. We talked for a while about some college stuff, and then I hung up. For context, I'm a night owl, so in no way was I feeling sleepy. Just to be sure, I sent her a message saying the same. The next day, when I was hanging around in her room, I mentioned the phone call, and she said she never talked to me. She told me she had been asleep at that time. I was confused and insisted that we had spoken, as I remembered it clearly. But she said the call must have connected to someone else. I said that that's not possible because I recognized her voice clearly, and we talked about things only she would know. I even suggested that she might have been talking in her sleep. But then her roommate, my cousin, chimed in and said, no, my friend was absolutely asleep the entire time. She had seen her, and she definitely didn't talk in her sleep. At this point, I was completely shocked. I opened my call logs to show her the call, but to my disbelief, the call had connected to my friend, but the duration was only 0 seconds. And yet, the message I sent right after that call was still there. To this day, I have no explanation. I genuinely feel like I talked to a version of my friends from a parallel timeline. It's not the most dramatic glitch compared to some stories here, but it's definitely one of the strangest things that has ever happened to me. My friend Sarah was at my house the other day. We were just hanging out, listening to music. She picked a ring up off of my nightstand and said, "Ooh, this is so pretty. You should let me borrow it." I told her of course she could borrow it, and that was that. We hung out for about another hour or so, and then she went home. That night, I was feeling around on my end table for my medicine container. I'm blind, just for context. I can't see at all, so I do everything by touch and sound. Anyways, I'm feeling around for my meds when something small falls off the end table and rolls across the room. I really didn't think anything of it. I was tired and didn't feel like getting up and feeling around in the floor, so I said screw it and went to sleep. Next morning, my fiance picks the object up and brings it to me. He tells me he found it in the floor. It's the ring. Later, Sarah called me and I asked her about it. I thought maybe she had forgotten it, but no. She had absolutely no clue what I was talking about. She said I never let her borrow the ring. She never even saw it, never said it was pretty, never mentioned it at all. I thought she was messing with me, but she was serious. It freaked me out so bad I was honestly speechless. It still has me baffled, and that's been over a week ago. It sounds silly now that I'm typing it out, but I know I remember her asking me about that darn ring. So yeah, pretty sure I experienced a glitch in the matrix. This happened to me like 1.5 years ago. I had a very distinct purple toothbrush that I bought from Shein. It had white and purple bristles. I was looking for it and found it in a toiletries bag where I usually put it. I brushed my teeth. The next day, I was brushing my teeth as normal, and when I was looking through my bag, I found my toothbrush, which was odd because I just used it and put it in my toiletries bag. I picked it up and went to check the bag, and there were two. I had two identical toothbrushes, except I had blinged one out with lots of rhinestones, so I had one with and one without. I had been using this toothbrush for months, so there's no possibility that there ever were two, because even if there were, I would have noticed that it sometimes didn't have rhinestones. Both of the places where I found them were places I usually put it. I slept at a friend's house a lot back then. There's no way there ever were two of them from Shein, and I all of a sudden would have put the one without rhinestones at a place where the one with rhinestones always was. I think I didn't think about it much because I was scared, but now that I think about it again, it's the weirdest thing that has ever happened, and I have no idea how to explain it. And also, I live in a quite small city in Sweden, so there's no big stores here that also somehow could have a copy of that exact same toothbrush. Last night, I bought a 6x5 tray of 30 eggs. When I got home, I realized one egg was broken. The carton was compostable, so I cut out the damaged section, threw the broken egg away, cooked one egg in front of everyone in the kitchen, and went to bed with 28 eggs left in the tray. There is absolutely no chance I used an extra egg from the fridge or miscounted at that point. We had 0 eggs at home. This morning, I used 2 more eggs to make an omelet. That left 26 eggs in the tray. The tray sits under a table shelf in the kitchen. We cleaned the kitchen earlier, swept and mopped the area around the tray, and the floor was completely spotless. No spills, no residue, nothing. A little later, we suddenly noticed a fresh splatter of raw egg on the floor near the tray. It looked like at least one whole egg's worth of contents. There was no shell anywhere. We checked the tray again, and it still had 26 eggs. We're certain the floor was cleaned 10 minutes before, so the egg appeared in that short window. We decided to transfer the eggs into another tray to count them again. 3 of us did it together, placing each egg in the second tray one at a time. We counted 24 eggs, not 26. That alone was confusing. Then we moved the eggs back into the original tray, and somehow they filled all 26 spots again. To make it stranger, the other tray only has 25 slots. After putting the eggs in it, only 1 slot was empty, even though the numbers made no sense. None of us are on any substances. Our home is well ventilated and regularly checked for gas leaks or anything that could affect perception. At this point, the whole situation feels surreal, and I think I need to call it a day and try not to think about it anymore. I've lurked this sub a long time and saw a post where someone had a similar experience, so I'm sharing mine. Please help me make sense of this. I'm open to hearing any opinions, theories, etc. This happened when I was a teenager, around 17. I was walking to the end of my street where the bus would pick me up every morning. It's a main road where there are frequent cars that pass by, so people don't typically walk on it. No sidewalks, rural, suburban area. As I got closer, I noticed a man on the other side of the road just standing there. It was dark outside and I couldn't see who it was very clearly. I assumed it was one of our neighbors, so as I approached him, I shouted to him, "Hi," but he didn't respond. He just kept staring blankly at nothing in particular. I made it to the end of the road and I could make out his appearance more clearly. He was not someone who lived in my neighborhood, and with me being a teenage girl, I was rightfully nervous. I saw my bus in the distance, so I thought, even if it was some serial killer, they would have been caught if they tried to harm me. I don't know my logic, so I stayed put. The man then turns and starts walking towards me, looking at me dead in the face with the most blank expression. I started screaming, still no reaction from the man. He makes it to about 6 feet away from me when all of a sudden the bus flies past my stop and the man completely vanishes. My heart was beating out of my chest and I was in total shock at what had just happened. Before I could even collect my thoughts, here comes my bus again, driving the same direction I had previously seen it drive before. It pulls up to my stop, and I get on the bus and continue my day as if nothing even happened. I have no clue what even happened to this day. Even now, I think about this often and it sends a shiver down my spine. So, within the rules, I saw this at 16, possibly 17 given the month. I've never done any drugs and didn't start drinking until 26. The others weren't doing anything. This involves me and 4 other people. A week or so prior to the event, my friend was driving and suddenly told me he couldn't control the car. We had just come off a light and he was going between 20 to 30 miles per hour. The steering wheel and brakes had no effect because of wet leaves. We had an entire crash prep conversation before we hit a tree head on. The AC vent imprinted on my knee for weeks. The crash left the headlines cross-eyed and aiming at the trees. Likely illegal to drive, but he was. It was fall in 1993. I'm not sure if it was September or October. It was Pleasantville, NY. We had just picked up our girlfriends, who were friends, and our friend F was in the back. So the car layout was B driving and his GF in front passenger, me behind B, driver's side back, my girlfriend, center back, and our friend F, back seat passenger. We were bored and didn't have a plan. One of us said, "Let's just drive," and I think I picked the direction. A very important landmark is the Pizza Hut, no longer there, in Pleasantville, NY. We made a turn from there and went out onto the normal neighborhood roads. We were driving for a bit, made another turn, and then the asphalt below us was suddenly new. Keep in mind, the headlights were cross-eyed and aiming at the trees. It was probably around 5 to 6 p.m., and the ground level was darker than it should be. I looked off into the woods and noticed none of the trees had branches for maybe 10 feet up from the ground, going back a few hundred yards. There were no bushes or other foliage on the ground above the grass. This is not normal here. I have not seen that before and since, except in Europe. I recall mentioning, "What the F is up with the woods? Did they cut all the branches off?" So the road was new, the woods were weird, and then I noticed there is only a house every once in a while, maybe 500 yards. In between each house was a street light in a very unpopulated area. That's also weird. The mailboxes were on the other sides of the street, which was also odd. We could not drive fast due to how the road raised and drastically curved frequently, which also seemed odd. I started looking out the front right of the windshield and saw a weird gray smoke. As we got closer and started to curve away from it, it seemed when parallel to it, it looked about 9 inches in depth and 4 feet high, but maybe 4 feet off the ground. As we curved more, it was 4 or so feet wide and a whirlpool with a different color circle area in the middle, darker. As we passed it, a being leaned out at me. It had no face, but felt like it did. Its sleeves were like wizard sleeves. It looked like absolute black with almost a Hellraiser-style suit on and face covered. I felt like it was pissed it could see me. It pumped its torso at me, leaned into the whirlpool. It closed and turned into smoke that dissipated. Here's why I believe I saw it. I said nothing. I thought I must be hallucinating and stayed quiet and looked out the other window. About 10 seconds later, my friend F said, "Hey everybody, wouldn't it be funny if I saw the Grim Reaper?" I turned to him and said, "Did you just see the Grim Reaper?" "I just saw the Grim Reaper." He said concerned, "Uh-huh." Then B, the driver, stopped the car. I yelled, "Don't stop!" And he gunned the gas. I yelled, "Don't speed!" The girls were Catholic and started praying. We only almost ran into a plastic trash can in the street, but left that road and that was that. Now, with all this alien news, I wonder if it was either a time travel thing or an alien thing. I originally thought it was just something more mythical. Portals were in movies back then, but not as popular as now. I don't think my friend F remembers it, which is pretty weird.